What's up, guys? Welcome to today's episode of the FREQ Talks Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about non-exercise activity thermogenesis, NEAT, NEAT for short. So kind of the way this works is most people attribute the vast majority of weight loss, muscle gain, calorie counting to the exercise activity, right? So if you have any sort of a wearable, I've got like an Apple Watch over here, I've got a Whoop band over here. Right. And both of those count your activity and how many calories you're burning through exercise activity, right? So you tell it what type of a workout you're doing. It tracks the rough estimated calories that you're burning throughout the time that throughout the duration of your exercise, throughout the duration of your workout, right? But one of the things that most people don't really take into account is going to be the non-exercise activity. So if you think about we've talked in the past about BMR, your basal metabolic rate, right? And that's, just to, super quick recap, your BMR is the minimum amount of calories that your body needs to sustain life in the long term, right? So say you have a BMR of like 1,600 calories. That's basically how many calories your body is going to naturally burn if you do absolutely nothing except lay in bed all day. Right? If you were to lay in bed, not move, not get up and go to the bathroom, not walk around, nothing, you're going to burn about 1,600 calories if that's what your BMR is. Right? And then you have total daily energy expenditure, right? So if you have a 1,600 calorie BMR, your TDEE, depending on, what you do for work, most of us are, desk jobs, office jobs, work out for about an hour to an hour and a half a day, 3 to 5 days a week. Right? So your TDEE is probably somewhere in the 28 to 3,200 calorie range with a 1,600 BMR, right? If you do a workout and if you track your workout, if you go like really, really hard, you might burn like 550 calories during that workout, right? That means out of 2,800 calories that your body is burning, 500 of them are during exercise activity. The vast majority of the calories that you burn throughout the day are going to be in that non-exercise activity kind of window, right? And that's going to include walking around, going up and down stairs, high-fiving, going for a walk in the park, hanging out with your dog, playing with your kids, like those types of things that you don't really attribute to exercise are going to be the vast majority of the calories that you burn throughout the day. This is one of the reasons that, most weight loss coaches and most nutrition coaches and most, physical transformation coaches are going to assign some level of, steps for you to take throughout the day, right? 7,000 steps or 10,000 steps or 15 or 20 or 20, like however many steps you're supposed to take throughout the day. That's really all we're doing there is we're just increasing that NEAT over time, right? So say you start off with like 7,000 steps, right? It's approximately like 3 miles worth of walking. You'll probably get that in a typical day anyways. Right? Just kind of doing your day-to-day thing. And then as you increase it to like 10,000, 12,000, 15,000, that means that you now need to incorporate some like additional, walks after meals just to ensure that you're getting all those calories in, right? Or all those steps in, right? And it's not really doing much of anything other than increasing that NEAT, increasing the non-exercise activity, because that is the vast majority of the calories that we burn, right? So if you're burning 3,500 calories a day, but you're only exercising and burning 500 during exercise, that additional 3,000 calories that typically comes from, that non-exercise activity, the getting up, the standing, long extended periods of standing, the thermogenesis that happens when you eat your food, when you consume food, right? Your body's burning calories in order to process that food. When you drink water, when you walk around, when you shake hands, when you laugh, when you talk, when you speak, right? All these things attribute to that non-exercise activity. And that's going to be where the vast majority of, calorie burn comes from throughout the day, right? And it's something to also take into account, right? Now that we've officially entered into autumn or fall, kind of whatever you describe it as, right? And we're creeping towards winter, right? A lot of people struggle with winter weight gain. And the reason for this primarily, not to mention the fact that we have like Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Halloween, like all these major holidays that basically stem around food, where people are, gorging themselves and enjoying, a lot of food, right? They also happen during the winter months, during the cold months when it's it's colder outside. You're not getting up and going for a walk. You're not going to the park. You're not going to the beach. You're not going to the amusement park. You're not spending time outdoors with your friends. You're not standing as much. You're typically kind of cuddled up underneath a blanket watching Netflix or watching football or something along those lines, right? So that non-exercise activity really, really diminishes during the winter months, which is where that like winter weight gain typically comes from, right? And it's why, a lot of coaches who do transformation coaching and nutrition coaching and diet coaching will, typically try to, depending on what your goals are, if your goal is to lose weight, they'll probably lower your calories just a little bit during the wintertime to ensure that, we don't perpetuate that winter weight gain too much because, we know that if it's cold out, people are going to be less likely to go out, right? I like to think of it like here in South Carolina, right? We're right in the middle of hurricane season, which means it basically rains every single day for at least half hour, right? Every single day it rains for at least 30 minutes, right? Last couple of days, it's been extremely rainy all day long. It's rained. On days like that, like I don't want to go outside and go for a walk. I know I'm going to get wet. I'm going to get soaked. I'm going to get rained on. I'm going to be cold afterwards. Like I don't want to deal with that. So I don't go for a walk. And that makes getting my steps in extremely difficult because it means that I kind of have to pace around the building or I have to pace around the gym when I'm at the gym in between sets and in between movements and in between workouts. And it's not as fun, right? It's not as mind clearing. It's not as engaging. It's a little bit more difficult, right? You kind of look funny, just kind of pacing back and forth in a gym, or pacing back and forth in a hallway at work. But because the weather was crappy, and I knew that the weather was crappy, and that I was going to be cold because of that, I kind of had to shift and adjust the way that I approached getting that non-exercise activity in, right? And the same thing kind of happens in the wintertime, right? As it starts getting colder, people start spending significantly less time outdoors, especially if you live in a colder environment in the wintertime. It's like I've lived in Colorado. We get pretty good winters with snowstorms and blizzards are pretty rare, but it snows pretty regularly, right? So you don't want to go outside and walk around in the snow just to get some steps in, right? Or in Washington, D.C. or in South Carolina, it's super humid when the temperature drops below 50 degrees. It feels cold. You don't want to go outside when it's that cold. You definitely don't want to go for a 5 or a 10 minute walk when it's that cold because it's cold. You just don't want to have to deal with it. So you don't, right? You keep your hoodie on, you keep your jacket on, you cuddle up underneath a blanket, turn on Netflix, and that's kind of where you spend your day, right? The only non-exercise activity that you get is when you're eating or when you're getting up to, go to the bathroom or go to cook food or something along those lines, right? So that non-exercise activity, that's going to be kind of the vast majority of where your calories burn throughout the day. Sorry, went off on a little bit of a tangent there. That wasn't really meant to happen, but it definitely provided some value and some insight coming into these winter months as we're approaching colder temperatures and more rain, more snow, less sunlight, less warmth. People aren't going to be outside as much, right? So just kind of keep that in mind as we're progressing into these colder months. That it might take a more what's the word I'm thinking of? A more dedicated or a more focused approach to getting in that non-exercise activity, or a more focused approach to kind of cutting calories back just a little bit in order to ensure that that winter weight gain doesn't get too out of control, right? And I mean, everybody has winter weight gain. I do it all the time. I love Thanksgiving. It's my favorite holiday of the year. I plan on going ham this year at Thanksgiving because why not? It's one day, love it, enjoy it. But at the same time, I know that as long as I'm doing the right things leading up to Thanksgiving, I'm doing the right things post Thanksgiving, then I'm going to be okay, right? In the long run, I'll be fine. It's probably better for my mental health to focus on that anyways. But just that knowing that my exercise is going to be down, or my non-exercise is going to be down during the winter months when it's colder and rainy and snowy and it's just not as nice or not as fun to go outside. Approaching my diet and approaching my nutrition a little bit differently to ensure that winter weight gain doesn't get too out of control. Yeah. All right, guys. That's all I got for you today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Hey, what's up? Thank you for checking out this episode of the FREQ Talks Podcast. If you found this interesting, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that little notification bell so that you get notified every time we upload a new video. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.